Hey everyone, it's Nissa. Today we're going to be discussing APA style, the citation format that we'll be using for ESL 501. Today's presentation will focus mostly on what you need to know about citation styles and why there are so many different kinds. Why is it important to use a citation style rather than walking you through all the different ways of citing. This presentation will provide an overview for you of things that you need to be mindful of as you use style in your writing. So why do we use a citation style? Other than to make your life difficult as a student, there are a number of different reasons why researchers use citation styles, and there are a lot of good reasons for using a particular style. The first is an obvious one. We discussed plagiarism in the last unit. As a misrepresenting ideas as belonging to you when someone else came up with them. So using a citation style will hold you first accountable for when you use information that someone else has originated and you'd like to borrow it. If you use a citation style, it makes it easy for you to identify the original author. Using a citation style also provides credibility for the researcher. If your reader sees that you're adhering to a particular style within a particular discipline, they may be more willing to accept you as a member of the community, as someone who's trying to adhere to the rules of that community. So ultimately, it allows you to better fit in with your peer group and allows you to be an active member of that research community. Using a citation style also helps to maintain uniformity within the discipline. It would be really confusing if you and some of your peers were in the same discipline and you were all using different citation styles, because all the different citation styles have different priorities and they prioritize different information and they want different pieces of information earlier in a reference listing. Some citation styles don't want certain pieces of information. So if you're going to be an active member within your research community, you definitely want to first find out what is the citation style used in your community, and secondly, you want to try and master that as best you can. And a theme we'll keep discussing throughout this presentation is that it's going to be very, very difficult for you to just strictly memorize every single facet of your citation style, and that's not really expected of you. What is expected of you is an awareness that there is a citation style to be followed, and more importantly, what skills can you acquire to help you to find that information when it comes time for you to put together research. And lastly, another reason we use a citation style is it allows ease to retrieve information. Say you're reading a research paper and you find a point that the author makes and you say, hey, that's a really good point, but they've cited another author and you're really interested in that topic, so you'd like to go and find the original source. Well, if you understand the citation style and the types of information that citation style provides, you can more easily find that original source by saying, okay, this was the journal, this was the publication, this was the author, based on the information that the citation will give you. So why do we use APA? There are some communities that use APA styles, so many areas of the social sciences like linguistics. Business uses APA, so does psychology, economics, nursing, and there are other disciplines that use APA. If you're not on this list or you're not sure what your citation style is, again, I strongly encourage you to discuss with a professor or your advisor in your field what citation style is used in your discipline. So getting back to APA, is it just a way of citing? Is it just a way of including my in-text citations and saying where I got my information? Well, no, there's a number of different facets to APA. First is organization. So how do you put your paper together? Second, publication uniformity. So if you want to get your research published in any kind of a venue, what citation style are they using so that the research within that journal can be as uniform or as alike or as similar in terms of formatting as possible? And then there's also citing references, of course, which is when you want to provide the information where you got your resources, and that if someone else wants to go and look into those resources, they already have the information there that they need. And if you're adhering to a particular citation style and you do so correctly, it really makes it easier for your reader to say, okay, this is the information that I need to go and find this source. The author's provided it for me. I can go ahead and do that. To elaborate a little bit more on organization, this also encompasses how you order the sections of your paper. So in an APA paper, in a research paper, you may not necessarily need to do this for your summary critique paper coming up in this unit, but requires that you have a title page, which gives the basic information of the title of the paper, the author's name, the author's affiliation with what university you're affiliated. It requires that you have an abstract, a short description of what the paper is going to be about, a short summary of what the paper is going to be about, that's formatted also in a particular way. Your literature review, when you go over the literature that you're using, the resources that have helped inform your research that you're publishing or that you're writing, APA requires that you format that in a particular way. Whether you choose to use what are called headings or subheadings to more easily divide your information, APA has specific requirements about how to format that, and then also, of course, is your references page. APA requires that you format your references page in a particular way, alphabetically and not numerically. Certain formatting, certain spacing is required. So all of these considerations are important to you as you're putting together a research paper. If you're going to be following APA, you'll need to inform yourself about what kind of requirements these are. And then furthermore, formatting. What kind of margins are needed throughout your paper? APA requires that you have something called a running head at the top of every page on the left-hand side. Also headings and subheadings, again, how you space those, the kinds of indentations that are needed. So all these things are things that you can look out for as you're putting together a paper in APA style. So to go a little bit further in depth with APA, it requires in-text citations like most other style formats. In APA, it requires that you refer to the author or authors, if there are more than one, by last name and then the year on the first reference. And by first reference, I mean the first time that you mention any kind of a source according to Smith's 2009 analysis, ... That will be last name followed by the year on the first reference. Later, after the first reference, so any other time that you mentions that source in the paper, you'll just have a parenthetical statement at the end of the sentence. The data in the analysis were as expected. Smith 2009 is in parentheses, followed by a period. This part is a little tedious, but remember to have the period after the parentheses. Some students use the period before the parentheses, and unfortunately that's not correct. So make sure that the parentheses that contain the information for that sentence is included with that sentence, as is demonstrated by having the period after the parenthesis. If you're directly quoting, APA requires that you have a page number followed by the year. The data were correct, Smith 2009, page 39. It's very important that you don't just say 39 and no comma. Remember that these are two numbers and they need to be separated. If you're quoting on the first reference, so the very first time you mention a source, if you're quoting right then, you can say, according to Smith's 2009 analysis, comma, quote, this is correct, end quote, followed by the page number in parentheses. These are all different examples of in-text citations, and if you notice, different pieces of information are required for each one. Are you citing on the first reference? If so, remember to use the last name and then the year in the beginning of the sentence. If you're not using the first reference and you're referring to a source that you've already introduced, the second format, just including the last name and the year, is appropriate. This is only appropriate also if you're using a summary. If you're paraphrasing, or if you're taking some information that's directly quoted, you may need to include the page number, as is shown in the third example. And if you're quoting on the first reference, you'll need to include the last name in the year format, followed by what you would need to include for a quote, which is the page number. APA also requires a references page. Notice this is called a references page with an S at the end for plural references for more than one. Please don't call it a reference page or a works cited page or a bibliography, as these are the titles of other pages in other citation styles. For example, works cited is from MLA, bibliography is from Chicago, while APA uses references. So that's something to keep in mind. A references page in APA is alphabetically organized and is not numbered, so you don't need to go through your references page and number your sources 1, 2, 3, but rather organize them by the first letter of the last name. So most citations, most reference listings will occur last name, comma, first initial, period. Don't spell out the first name. And the second line of a listing, if it's long enough, will be indented, either 5 spaces or 1 stroke of your tab key on your computer, which is usually above the caps lock key. So this is an example of a references page listing for an article. Smith, S, period, so the first initial and followed by the period. 2009 is the year in which it was published, followed by another period. The title of the article you are citing, which is not italicized or bolded, it's just normal. The first letter is capitalized of the title, followed by a period. The title of the publication comes next, which is italicized. Italicization signifies units that are published, larger volumes that are published. So if you ever have a journal or a book title, those things will be italicized. Followed by a comma, followed by 55 is an example for the volume number. Another comma, followed by 3-19, which is an example of page numbers, of which pages this particular article occurred in, followed by, again, a period. So again, it's really important for you to pay attention to what kind of a source you're using, because for each different source, different pieces of information are required. For example, if I wanted to cite a book, the example here that I used would not give me the information that I need to find the book, because a book also requires the town in which something was published and the publisher. And secondly, notice that the order of information and the punctuation is important. For example, with MLA, the year doesn't come until the end of the reference listing. So it's important to know that one, you're using APA, and two, that you've given the appropriate pieces of information in the correct order. And also notice the punctuation. So don't skip periods, don't skip commas. You have to italicize certain things, have to have periods after other things. Just know that the more you use a citation style, the more used to it that you're going to get. And the more often that you cite journal articles, the more you're going to understand and memorize through use and through practice what sorts of information you need, and then you'll be able to memorize it that way. So don't go home today and try and memorize the entire APA style guide. That will be a very long and likely very unhelpful process. So through use and through experience, that is how you're going to use a citation style, by using it over and over again. Be really careful that you are using it when you need to, and then you should be in good shape. So in conclusion, don't think you have to memorize everything right away. There's a lot going on with APA style, and there's a lot going on with other citation styles. The fact of the matter is you're going to have to first find out what style that you're using by either asking an advisor, asking a trusted professor to know what the convention is in your discipline. And then once you know that, start to use it. It will be annoying at first to have to go and look everything up, but the more you use it, the more used to it that you're going to become, and the more you're going to be able to remember, okay, last time I cited a book in this way, this is what I need to remember to cite a book this time. Knowing how to search is just as important a first step in using a correct citation style accurately as is creating accurate citations. So the fact that you know that you need to use online resources from accredited institutions, either from the APA itself or another institution or another organization that puts together citation materials, is if you know how to search for that information, it's going to be just as important for you as producing correct citations. Using an accredited citation style also will help your reader focus on your ideas rather than an unknown formatting. So if you're including strange bits of information in the citation, your reader might think, why is he giving me this information? This isn't what I need. So also by adhering to a certain citation style, whether it's APA, MLA, or Chicago, or another format, you're ultimately allowing your reader to focus more on your ideas. And then if they want to get more information on your resources, they know that they can go to your references page or works cited page, and that they can get that information there. So educating yourself on style is going to make using a style easier, because ultimately the more experience you have with using a particular citation style, eventually you are going to remember the things that you needed to know the first time, and those things are going to become ingrained in your memory, and then it's going to get easier to use it. So don't shy away from using a citation style at the beginning just because it's annoying. It's going to be really time consuming. It will get easier as long as you put in the time to learn it. Okay, talk to you soon.